Hey guys, it's MugenLord here, and it looks like there could possibly be light at the end of the tunnel regarding the Dead or Alive series. So before we dive into this video, make sure you hit that subscribe button and also hit that bell to be notified for more fighting game news and JRPGs here on this channel. So we're going to dive into it. Now, as you may know, I'm a big Dead or Alive fan. I've been a fan since the Sega Dreamcast release of Dead or Alive 2, and I made plenty of videos regarding this series and how much I love it. And the last video that we talked about was the fact that Dead or Alive 7 was potentially in development and then suddenly canceled at the last minute. And a lot of you guys left your personal feedback on that. You guys enjoyed it. And I didn't know there's a lot of you guys who love Dead or Alive just as well as I do, even though that Dead or Alive is somehow like the black sheep of the fighting game community. A lot of people don't like to regard it as a fighting game because of some of the aesthetics as far as the jiggle physics and the sexualization of the female characters in the game. But underneath all that, it's a pretty damn good fighting game and been a fan since. Well, we just got some information recently from Gematsu. They had interviewed creative director Tom Lee. I forgot all about that Tom Lee was still around. I didn't know that he was still the creative director, so that's a good thing. We'll talk more about that. But there's talks that there may be a potential reboot of Dead or Alive series, and so far other series within Team Ninja themselves, such as Ninja Gaiden. But we won't talk about Ninja Gaiden because my channel's for fighting games, so we will more so focus on Dead or Alive moving forward, because this just seems like they're pretty interested in it. So there's a statement that's left by Team Ninja creative director Tom Lee. He states that Dead or Alive and Ninja Gaiden are both standing pillar franchises for Team Ninja, and he's not lying about that. When you hear about Team Ninja at Koei Tecmo, you automatically think about Dead or Alive and Ninja Gaiden, since Ninja Gaiden and Dead or Alive is so synonymous with one another anyway. So these celebrated titles are synonymous with our studio history and reputation. It goes without saying that when speaking about the development of our past and future projects, both of these important titles cannot be left out without mention. However, there are no details or information to share on either of these franchises at this present time. Like many of our dedicated fans, we share the enthusiasm for the return of these beloved titles, and we will sure provide proper update if and when that day arrives. Now, this is all corporate talk. I can guarantee you right now that they're working on it. Just because they're saying that there's no details, no information right now, no, there's no details to tell us, is because they're probably so early in development with both of these franchises as far as a reboot is concerned, that it just doesn't make sense to even tell us anything when they have nothing to show off. And I love the fact that studios are starting to keep everything close-knit, because the problem with a lot of, especially Japanese studios, where they announce a lot of these games way before it's due, and then anything can happen in between the development of any of these titles. Cancelizations, sometimes studios get fired and they have to bring everything back in-house. So all kinds of things happen, and then the title can get delayed years from now. Come on, we already can look at Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, which I'll be doing a future video about that as well. But you pretty much get my point when it comes to that. But we're not done yet. They also have shown some slideshows at this presentation at G-Con and IGC this weekend. So it seemed like Team Ninja's Yasuda held a presentation featuring slides suggest that reboots of Ninja Gaiden and Dead or Alive are planned. Yes, they are definitely planned. There's no way in the world that they're going to just let these franchises die. And we reached out to Koei Tecmo for clarification, and they're waiting for a response. And this is all from Gematsu magazine. So what is my input as far as, Dead or Alive maybe getting a potential reboot? Now, I know some of you guys have discussed it in my Discord channel. If you guys want to check out my Discord, you can also check that out as well. I'll leave a invite link for you guys to go join my Discord. But a few guys talked about how some, aren't too fine about a reboot because of how the story had left off. And I also mentioned in my Discord is that when it comes to Dead or Alive, I was never really interested in the story. To me, when it came to fighting games, especially when Dead or Alive, first started off, so convoluted. And Dead or Alive was one of those series where the story felt like it was all over the place. It wasn't until, I guess you say, Dead or Alive 5, maybe Dead or Alive 6, they started, putting chronicles and timelines and starting to straighten out the storyline and iron it out. But Dead or Alive's story was the last thing I thought about. So a complete reboot, I'm totally all for. And I think it's about time for that. Now, what would I want from a Dead or Alive reboot? one, they'll probably most likely call it Dead or Alive. Now, when it comes to a reboot, I essentially want Dead or Alive to be the pinnacle of fighting game visuals, because every Dead or Alive game that released, it always showed off of why it was a superior fighting game when it came to visuals and aesthetics. It was always a gorgeous game. It always pushed the console hardware, especially when it launches with the hardware. It shows what the console is capable of, and I want Dead or Alive to be that that flagship fighting game title to show off how beautiful a fighting game can look. Look at games like Street Fighter 6 right now, gorgeous looking game, but Tekken 8 is just ridiculously good with the shadow effects, the rain effects, the textures of the characters and stuff. So Dead or Alive is going to have some competition in regards to the visual aspects of things, but I would definitely love for them to really step their game up, because I believe that Dead or Alive 6 was a disappointment as far as the visuals are concerned. It felt dated, and it felt more like asset flip, Dead or Alive 6, when it came to pushing the hardware and the visualization of the game. But as far as the reboot, I would love them to keep the essence of Dead or Alive. What I mean by the essence is what the game is known for. Not just the visuals, but also, you could say, the sexualization. I love how the design of the characters has always been. Even though that is the flagship and that's what sets it apart from the fighting games, I don't want them to pretty much say, hey, we want to capture, more players by, removing our identity, because that's what a lot of developers end up doing. They end up, I guess you could say, throwing their dedicated fans away while they're trying to capture a new audience, and then not end up capturing that audience, and then they end up losing their foundation. So they still need to keep that aesthetic as far as, the jiggle physics and how they, design most of the, the female characters and just the characters in general. Keep that aesthetic, but also need a balance. I think the problem with the later Dead or Alive games is, especially when you knew that when the founder left, or the original director had left, you can tell that a lot of things was focused more on the monetization and the costumes and the aesthetics of the characters, which I also wasn't a big fan of. They kept shoving down DLC. I think they need to slow down and balance that out. And even though I never invested in DLC, because I go play Dead or Alive not because of how hot the babes look, the fighting game aspect and knocking your opponents through different environments, and the environments itself was a character, and depending on what stage you pick also gave your character an advantage. I think that was the best part and a unique part to the Dead or Alive series that stood out among most of the fighting games, especially the 3D fighters that were out at that time. So I really want them to step their game up when it comes to that. I would love to see some more destructible environments, more layers to stages that you could knock your opponents through. I really enjoy that, but they still need to keep the aesthetics what made Dead or Alive Dead or Alive. They just need to scale back the monetization, the costumes and everything just a bit, but still keep the essence, still keep the soul of what makes Dead or Alive such a great game. So that pretty much wraps up this video. There's nothing much more that we can go off of when it comes to a potential reboot of Dead or Alive, because a reboot is happening, and it's good to hear from Tom Lee. I mean, if you guys don't know, I had interviewed Tom Lee during the time Dead or Alive 5 was on the way. This is back, I believe, during Summer Jam 8. It's one of those summer jams in Philadelphia where I met Tom Lee myself. Really cool guy. Interviewed him. Then we friended each other on Facebook, and we used to talk from time to time. And I had no idea that he's still the team creative director down at Team Ninja for Dead or Alive. So it's good to see that he's still there, and the fact is that he putting information out as far as a potential reboot for Dead or Alive. So I definitely want to hear your thoughts in the comment sections below. Do you think a reboot is necessary for Team Ninja with Dead or Alive, or should it continue with a Dead or Alive 7? Definitely your thoughts in the comment sections below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Once again, because it helps me, hit the like button, and I'll be seeing you Game Fiends later. Peace out.